So this is the newest keyboard drop from Keychron. This is the Q3. Now this is coming in at $185 fully built, and it's a problem for a lot of keyboard manufacturers out there, but it's a good problem for you guys. Now the Keychron is one of the best stock keyboards that I've ever tested. It really blurs that line between custom and a stock keyboard and what that really means. The Keychron Q3 does a lot of things right. It does things that no other stock keyboards are doing at the moment, at least the ones that I've tried. All right. Now I'm not just talking about the gasket mount, because it seems like every keyboard these days has a gasket mount. No. We're talking about little things that companies have overlooked for years that we've begged and pleaded them to give us, and they just never did it. But I guess Keychron went out, saw all the comments, saw what people wanted, and just put it into all their keyboards. So let's take a look at the Q3 and see and hear some of the magic that Keychron was able to create with this keyboard. Now the packaging is nothing new. It comes with the keyboard, a braided cable, switch picker, keycap puller, screwdrivers, keycaps for the Windows keys, and a hex bar. The case will come in 3 different colors: a carbon black, which I have on hand, the silver gray, or a navy one. The case is really heavy to my surprise. It's around 1900 grams, which is 4 times the weight of a Ducky 1.2 Mini. When compared to my more expensive high-end Ducky Orion V2.5, it's only a Ducky 1.2 Mini difference between the two, which is pretty crazy, considering the price difference is about $400. The Keychron Q3 works with both Mac and PC. All you have to do is switch the little switch on the back of the case to get it working. The aluminum finish looks and feels amazing. It's got some nice lines going for it on the top with good etching on the bottom to give it a nice, simple, yet classy design. Now this is going to be available in a knob or a non-knob version, as well as an ISO version or an ANSI version, depending on your flavor. You can also get this bare bones for about $20 less if you just want just the case. You don't want the switches, you know what you want, you don't want the keycaps. The knob placement is a little weird for me. Normally you'd find the knob at the top right corner. Instead they moved the F keys over and then put it in between the outside rows. Now functionally, this is a really good thing. I really like the knob here. But aesthetically, I just like the symmetrical look of a normal TKL without the knob. At least put the knob over to the right-hand corner and move those things over. But then it just becomes bunched and a little bit jumbled. So if I were to get this keyboard, I would definitely go with the non-knob version. That's just me. I would just be able to just control this with the F11 and F12 keys. It comes with an aluminum plate. I wish it had some more plate options here, but aluminum is usually a good middle ground, whether you're going for a linear or a tactile switch of your choice. There's some silicone gaskets between the cases, which is a very interesting concept and should lead to less rattling because there's not any of that aluminum on aluminum action going on from the top and the bottom of the case. I'm not sure how much this helps because I can't really see a point where this bottom case touches on the top case. But hey, if it does help any, I'm all here for it. I guess it can't hurt, right? Can't hurt. The gaskets are actually pretty thick on this keyboard and are already pre-installed onto the plate. This mounting style is way better than the traditional outdated tray mount where the PCB sits on the post, creating a ton of unwanted sound and leading to an uneven typing experience along the keyboard. The gasket mount on this is implemented really nicely. There are some screws at certain points around the keyboard, but I like that they didn't put any screws in the middle of the plate and the PCB to hold everything together. It just makes it less rigid in the middle of the keyboard. You can definitely see the flex all the way through the keyboard when you're typing. So I'm definitely vibing out on this keyboard way more than I did with the glorious GMMK. There's also some foam between the plate and the PCB to soak up some of that extra sound as well. Remember the days, guys, when we'd have to go out and buy all of these things like the plate foam, the bottom case foam? Look how far we've come. I mean, the companies are giving it to us right away. There is some foam on the bottom of the case, but this stuff is super pathetic. I definitely would replace this. It's puny, it's thin, it's very holey, and it didn't actually soak up enough sound, and the keyboard still sounded hollow. When you have these lower end aluminum boards, it's very easy to get that. Hell, even on some high end boards, it's very easy to get that hollowness, to get that reverb in the bottom of the case. So having good case foam, that's one thing that I would recommend to them, is put a better piece of foam in the bottom of this case. So instead, what you can do to make this keyboard sound a little bit better, which we will see in the sound test, is just put some polyfill in the bottom of this keyboard. I've seen a bunch of other creators do it, and I gotta say, it just works. And I'll link some of that down below. So if you do wanna add this mod, It's very easy to do. You just lay it down in the bottom of the case and you're good to go. This PCB is hot swap hoe ready with some south facing switches. Now this is good and bad. It's gonna be bad for people that like shine through keycaps, but it's good for people that use cherry profile keycaps because it doesn't interfere with the keystrokes. Since the LED shines through the bottom of the switch now the letter of the shine through keycap doesn't even light up. By the way, who still uses shine through keycaps? Is it still 2020, 2019? I don't know. Do people still use that? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. That's no shade. I'm just genuinely curious. Comes with their new Keychron G Pro switches that have tighter tolerances, new polycarbonate casing mold, new palm stem, and a thicker metal leaf. The ones I have on hand here are the G Pro Reds. These are surprisingly smooth, unlubed, unfilmed. I really dig these, especially for a stock switch. There's barely any top house wobble or stem wobble. Again, if you want to spend an extra $20, you can get the keycaps as well as these switches, and I think it's actually a really good deal. So these have OSA PBT keycaps. You'll notice that the legends are in the middle of the keycap, which differs from GMK, which is on the top left-hand corner. Think of them as your standard cherry profile, but slightly more cylindrical, so it's not going to be a complete shock to your nervous system once you start using them. When I switch to something like an SA, which are taller and more cylindrical, I have a hard time adjusting, but these actually felt right at home with these. Overall, it doesn't seem like these really collect a lot of oil and change the consistency of the keycaps, which is also really nice. Honestly, after trying the fully assembled keyboard, this one comes in at $185. I don't see why you wouldn't go for this, especially when you get the keycaps and you get the new Keychron Pro switches. If you don't want them, just put them to the side. You'll have something to mess around with at some point. Or if you're somebody that doesn't even care about any of that, you just want something that feels good and looks good enough, it's just a no-brainer just to get the fully assembled keyboard already. So I have two things about the stabilizers. They are screwed in, which is great. I love to see that. The second thing I want to talk about is that these are lubed to hell, and it feels really good. These have the best stabilizers stock on any keyboard that I've ever tried. Right out of the box, they sound good to go. That doesn't happen too often. In fact, that never happens. And when I was just you get a keyboard, first thing you do is you just start tapping on the stabilizers and you're just waiting for that rattle. You're just waiting for that rattle, and it never came. Now, they have a lot of lube on the wires, but none on the housing. So they do feel somewhat dry in that regard. But for most people, this is going to be miles better than anything that they've ever tried. I am very happy with that. And that is another thing that companies we've been asking for years. We've had to do all these crazy mods, take them out, try to do Band-Aid mods. I love that you can just get this fully assembled keyboard and it just sounds good, period. So that's another thing that this does that stock keyboards haven't done for years now. Now, I don't want to act like this keyboard is perfect. It's not by any means. There's a bit of hollowness, especially at these lower budget end aluminum keyboards, and it's here, okay? It's definitely there, but that can be remedied with some of that polyfill. Now, for this sound test, I did the G Pros, didn't lube them. I just want you guys to hear it stock. Then I went ahead and put in some of my own lubed and filmed marshmallows. I got these from the fine people over at Lubed Switches. So you guys can hear a sound test of both of these, unlubed stock and then a lubed and filmed switch to see how much you can get out of this keyboard. So enough talking, let's get into that sound test. All right, so what you guys think of the sound test? Let me know down in the comments below. I think it sounds good with the polyfill. Still, some of that hollowness is there, but it did remedy it a little bit, especially coming from that pathetic piece of foam that they put in there. And the marshmallows sound pretty damn good in there as well. So I want to talk about the usability a little bit before we get out of here. This keyboard is really good. Okay, we have the knob, which you can turn as the volume. You can also press down on it to mute your music. They have a bunch of commands on the F row, which is nice. Also, you can configure this in via software, which is also nice. You guys know I love that. You can also QMK flash it if that's your jam. I don't know who the hell wants to do that anymore. VIA is just so convenient. Plug and play. They also have the Q1 and the Q2, which are their 75 and 65% keyboards respectively. And those feature the same type of experience that you're going to get here with this Keychron Q3. So yeah, I gotta say, this is the new standard for stock keyboards, especially fully assembled, straight to your door. Sounds good. The stabilizers are good. Has everything that you could want. And it looks like it's worth more than the actual asking price. So with that being said, this gets a full recommendation from me when it comes to a stock keyboard. And I will be recommending Keychron keyboards to more and more people. Man, budget keyboards have really come a long way. And these keyboards, these new budget keyboards that are coming out are just making the keyboards like the old drop alt feel prehistoric, dinosaur even, because they're just so damn good for what they offer. All right, it has been your boy BT. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.